My speech is entitled Lasting Impressions by Dominique Love. The purpose of my speech is actually to have my audience know techniques necessary to create a successful speech that will have a lasting impression on its listeners' minds. Thank you for listening. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Need I ask whose speech this is? Exactly, Dr. Martin Luther King's. Martin used a lot of techniques to make his speech successful. He had great tone, facial expression. He used gestures. His speech was organized well, and he showed emotion throughout his whole speech. Right off the bat, Martin instantly used an attention-getting element to grab his listeners' ears. I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of the nation. That line alone is memorable in my mind. Instantly, I was intrigued as to what he was going to say after that. Other good attention-getting elements is a lot of presenters tell a story. They often use humor, and they're very creative. Doing this will definitely keep the attention of your listeners. A good presenter must also show emotion throughout their whole speech. So showing emotion gets their listeners into the speech. It makes the listeners believe what they say. It's definitely essential to show emotion. The whole I Have a Dream speech to me showed emotion. I could feel Dr. King's words. His words made goosebumps on the back of my neck just listening to it. Let's listen to a line he stated on there. But 100 years later, the Negro still is not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negroes is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negroes live on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. 100 years later, the Negro is still languished in the corners of American society and finds himself in exile in his own land. And so we come here today to dramatize a shameful condition. Could you feel the emotion in his words? Because I know I could. Morgan, I actually recently read an article by Mr. Morgan entitled How to Write a Great Speech, 5 Secrets of Success, that was listed on the Forbes.com website. And he stated, great speeches are primary emotional, not logical. And I agree. That whole I Have a Dream speech was emotional. However, it was put together logically. He made sure that his speech had an introduction. Its listeners knew exactly what he was going to say. He had a clear body. And he had a great conclusion. In conclusion, the whole I Have a Dream speech was meant to bring us all together, no matter what race, creed, gender. And after hearing Dr. King's speech, I think he did just that. It wasn't an overnight change, but I think this speech serves its purpose in history. One could only wish to write a speech that is so known and talked about as King's. But by following some of the steps and techniques that I gave you during this speech, you can get close. Thank you for listening, everyone. You have a nice day.